love the chase and the hunt, and I set the pace when I'm running. I always
Namaste friends. So today is chapter 8 in AWS. So we have actually seen quite a lot of S3. So I think it is a good time to actually do a quick recap. Even though we have seen a lot, we might actually miss on few points. So let's actually see what all we have actually learned, and let's actually just familiarize us one more time. Okay. Let's take a deep dive.
Namaste friends. In today's lecture, what we are going to be seeing is S3 recap. So quick recap, there is not going to be any hands-on console. So we are going to be seeing what all we learnt in S3. I thought this will be a good lecture for you to actually brush up. Even though you may be knowing it, again, as I told you, our intention is gearing towards the AWS Solution Architect, Associate Solution Architect. Okay. So what all did we learn? So what is an S3? Simple storage service. Okay, it is an object base. It allows you to upload the files. You can upload up to files up to 5 terabytes. This is called virtually unlimited. Okay, this is not, you cannot install a Microsoft operating system or an Apple or a database. Okay, this is not that. Okay, this is not, the S3 is not known for that. Further will be having other things. Okay, so this is a simple S3. So files are stored in the buckets. So the buckets are nothing but simple words. It is a folder, and every S3 name is unique across the global. Okay, universally namespace unique. So how do we come? HTTPS, which is basically secured, your bucket name, which is unique across the globe, your S3.S3 in which region, and Amazon AWS.com is like the URL slash your whether the file name, whether it's pras.doc, pras.jpg and stuff of that nature. So once you actually upload the file, if the file is successful, you will have a successful 200 code. Okay, HTTP 200 code to say the file was successfully uploaded. So these are the things which is actually important, which is called the key value ID metadata. So the key is the object name, whether if you are actually uploading an image called person in, that is the key. The value is what it has been made up of. The version ID, we saw the version ID, how it is actually as a backup tool, and what all the different IDs actually available. The metadata, the data of the data, what is actually storing, so that is the metadata. And then we saw how to actually secure the buckets. The buckets are private by default. So if you need to make it public, you need to specify that this is the public. Because of so much of things, they actually made it private by default. So you have to make it public because of so much of hacking and other things which actually happen, unnecessary nonsense. They made it private. Okay, so you can actually access control list as ACL. So you can actually make an individual object public using object access control list. You can give a policy to the entire bucket, and that is called the bucket policy. The HTTP code 200, we saw that. Okay, by the S3 again, remember, you can host a static website, not dynamic. So what is the static and what is the dynamic? We actually hosted a static website with a single standalone website. So it is not like your e-commerce site or any of the sites that you actually go, if you watch movies, it is not that dynamic. Okay, or it is not dynamic, not that dynamic, it is not dynamic. It can only host a static. S3 scales automatically with the demand. Okay, so that is what S3 is. And having said that, we saw about the versioning. We saw that why the version can be a great backup tool. It cannot be disabled, it can only be suspended. We saw about the lifecycle rule, how we actually move from standard to infrequently access to Glacier, and how it actually supports a multi-factor authentication. We saw about the storage classes. We saw about that 99.11nines. We saw the availability. We saw about standard, infrequently accessed, one zone infrequently accessed, where the only place of availability is 99.5, but the durability is all the same, and the availability in all the cases is greater than or equal to 3. Only in one zone it is 1. We saw it as Glacier, and why it actually go to Glacier is basically in the Glacier we have a Glacier, we have a deep archive, and then we have another type of Glacier as well. So The Glacier is like, that 60 days and 180-day concept. So 180 days is a deep archive, okay, where the retrieval speed is many hours, okay. Anything greater than 12 to 48 hours or something of that nature, so that is what it is. So we saw all these things, the storage and stuff of that nature, and we saw how to actually automate moving the objects between the different storage tiers and how it can be applied in conjunction with the versioning, okay. We saw about the worm, okay, the worm methodology, write once, read many, and why the object lock, and what are all the compliance mode, the governance mode, so we saw about that, and we saw that the governance can be changed, the governance can't override, okay, but anything can't override the delete object or the version, but they have special permissions. So the governance at a high level, the governance will change, but the compliance, you have to comply. If it is a red signal, you have to stop. So including the root user, no one can actually change it. So this is exactly the same thing that I even told you in my recording as well. We saw the Glacier vault lock, so it is all the worm methodology, so we can, so you can also read about the same specified controls, okay. So we saw about the encryption, we also saw about the encryption, the transit and the encryption, the rest, and we saw about that SSL, TLS, HTTP, HTTPS, which we also saw in the S3 space. We saw the client side encryption, we saw server side, we saw SSE, S3, SSE, KMS, which is the key management service, and then C client provided. And we can also enforce encryption with the bucket policy. We also saw a lecture on the same. We saw this 3,500 for put, 5,500 for get, and with multiple prefixes it's like 11,000, with 4 prefixes 22,000. We saw that. So we saw that lecture as well. And with the KMS, we saw that it takes for every upload and download, it counts towards a KMS quota. It is region specific, and it comes in a pre-packaged thing, 5,500, 10,000, 30,000 requests per second. And you cannot request an increase in quota in the KMS. We saw this. And we saw this multipart. Remember that mega upload that I gave you, how a single file is broken up into multiple files uploaded up, and likewise for downloaded. So remember I told you the 250 GB, a big movie we used to download in 5 minutes. So you can also specify a byte range while downloading. So if something is lost, it's only the particular byte. Or another way, if you actually split the 250 GB file into 10 different parts, and it is only 25 GB a piece, and if you specify you need the 7th 25 GB, if it is actually lost, we know only the 7th 25 GB is actually lost, but the remaining 9 is available and you can actually get it. Okay, this is recommended for any files more than 100 megabytes, but it is really optimal for files more than 5 GB. Otherwise you're just wasting your time and efforts and money as well. I trust you would have actually enjoyed my quick recap, and you would probably appreciate that we actually went over everything, both lecture and also hands-on wherever it is actually needed. I trust you would have mastered the concept of S3. The S3 is a good easy 5 to 7% in your exam. So if you are good, then we actually proceed into the next real big thing called EC2, which is Elastic Compute Cloud, which is a huge thing. If you master EC2, and the remaining AWS is more or less you've covered the backbone, 50% is done. So there are a lot more things to deep dive as an architect, understand, appreciate, and getting to know more and more and more. In technology, you have to always keep learning, and you can't stop at one place. Okay, if you have any questions, concerns, kindly contact me, and I'll actually answer you to the best of my abilities. Till we see next time, take care, cheers.
I must say, friends, I trust you have actually seen my quick recap on S3. If you have any questions, kindly contact me. I'll actually try to help you to the best of my abilities. Like always, I would like to thank two persons. One is you for giving me your golden time, and other is my wife Jayashree following me to follow my passion. Till we see next time, take care.